All right, it's time to actually start drawing something. Let's make a door flat, our first measured drawing. Let's use some of the basic tools to construct a door flat in scale and throw some dimensions on it. Actually start using some of these tools with a purpose in mind, to draw a 4-foot by 8-foot door flat with a 3-foot by 7-foot door in the center of it. So to get started, the first thing we need to do is change our layer scale to something reasonable. If I start drawing a 4-foot by 8-foot flat in full scale, it's going to be an awfully big door flat. We're going to have this tiny little piece of 8.5 by 11 paper that is lost in the middle of this giant door flat. So we need to change the layer scale. The easiest way to do that is to use this layer scale button right here. And if you don't have this on here yet, that's a feature that comes out of this little pop-up menu in the end here. And I know this menu is being chopped off by the screen, by the recording screen, but halfway down this is a little button that says layer scale right there. That should have a check mark next to it, and that'll pop this layer scale button onto your view palette. Right now, 1:1, we want to go and make that 1/2 inch. So let's click on that, go to the layer scale palette, and choose 1/2 inch right there, that little radio button. See, that puts us 1:24, much more reasonable size for the drawing we're going to create. Click OK, and just go ahead and fit page to area, or just zoom in. That's fitting that full piece of paper to our area, and we can start drawing our door flat. Let's go ahead and use the rectangle tool right here to draw the outside of the door flat. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to just move somewhere in the middle of the drawing. It doesn't really matter where. And I'm going to click once, and I'm going to start moving to the right and down. And you'll notice as soon as I do that, I have this floating data bar. That's this blue box that's following my cursor around wherever it goes. It's mirroring a lot of the information that you see down here in the corner, but it's right there, sort of a heads-up display that's very useful. Now, to create a 4-foot flat, actually, 4 foot now is, I lost it. Gee, I could spend a lot of time chasing around 4-foot by 8-foot by trying to just sort of get it to, forget that. Much easier way to do this, much more precise way. Hit the tab key once to get the X field and type in 4 apostrophe for 4-foot and hit enter. And see what that's done is it's taken our X direction, that's this direction across the screen, X, remember Y is up and down, and it's put this little red lock in here, and it's actually locked this one dimension into 4 feet. So I still am flexible about what the Y is doing until I give it some sort of number, but my 4-foot is locked into place. Now I can tab twice and type in -8 apostrophe, -8 feet. We're going negative because we started, our first click was right here. We went positive in the X direction, but we're going down in the Y direction. So when I hit -8 and enter, or hit the left mouse button, you'll see now I have both of these guys locked in. Clicking again or entering again will create the shape. Don't forget, you can also change the shape after it's created using the object info palette. Here's the width and the height right here. If I decide this actually wants to be a 10-foot tall flat, I can just type in 10 feet right there, and that'll change that height even after the object is created. If you go too far when you're creating something and you tab over, went too far, just keep on going until you bring it all the way back around again. Cycle back through all the various different options. Now this floating data bar is aware of what your tool is. So if I grab a line tool, for example, I have a couple of options. I have length, but I also have angle. I don't have height and width like I do in a rectangle. I've got commands that are appropriate for a line. So I can come in here and type in 4 feet, and that gives me this 4-foot circle from my first click. And then I can set my angle in afterwards. So I can say, -30. There we go. That's a 4-foot long line that is it's -30 on the angle from my first click. Back to our flat here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. There's a couple of different ways now to draw in our door. Easiest way, I think, I want this door to be centered right in the middle. I want it to be a 3-foot door centered right in the middle of this flat. So I'm going to go over here and find the offset tool. That's this one right here. Go ahead and click on the offset tool, and you'll see there's a number of things in the mode bar that we need to have. This is all set up and ready to go for us, but you want to make sure that you've got offset by distance, because we're not offsetting by kind of eyeballing it. We want it to be a specific distance, in this case 6 inches, because we want 6 inches from one side, 6 inches from the other side. That's going to give us our 3-foot door inside of our 4-foot flat. So we want this first distance mode checked, and then we also want the first one in the second section right here checked. That's duplicate and offset. This one over here would just shrink our flat down smaller. We actually want to leave our first line and then have our second line selected. So I need to select the flat here. Oh, see, use the Alt key to select an object. I could have had it selected first, but since I went ahead and chose the tool first without selecting the rectangle, I can hold the Alt key down, and that's going to give me the opportunity to select the object after I've chosen a tool. Kind of a handy feature. Now, if I click on the outside of this rectangle, it's going to create a rectangle larger in all directions by 6 inches. So I've got my 5 foot by 9 foot rectangle on here, and then underneath there you can see hidden by that is the first rectangle. We actually want it to be on the inside, so I'm going to undo and click on the inside of the line to shrink our rectangle, make a copy of our rectangle that is 6 inches smaller on all sides in the middle. So there's our door. That was pretty slick. All set. It's already centered. It's already the right height, 3 foot by 7 foot. The only problem now is that it is 6 inches too high up in the middle of the flat when I want it down here at the bottom of the flat. Lots of different ways that I could do this. I could simply just grab it and drag it into place, but to be fast and precise, I'm going to use the move command. I'm going to use Control M to open up the move selection window. Scooch that out of the way for a moment, and you'll see that it has a Cartesian offset for the X direction and the Y direction. Now it's already set up ready to go with -6 inches. Remember, you don't need to type with 6 inches. You can just type -6, and it wants to be negative because we're going to move it down on the screen. If we wanted to scooch up to the top, that'd be +6. If we wanted it to align with the right-hand side of the flat, we could put 6 inches right here in the X offset. You can do both at the same time. You don't need to do them separately. But we're happy now with this. Nothing moving on the X-axis and just dropping 6 inches on the Y-axis. And if I click OK, you can see it's just dropped it right down there, ready to go. Let's go and throw some dimension lines on that. But before we do, I'm going to use my Shift key, hold that down, hit my X to grab my selection tool, then my Shift key, select both of these lines at the same time, and choose a little bit heavier line weight from the Attributes palette. So I went right here to this little box for line style and just chose, say, 14 will be good. Again, if you have different numbers in here, it doesn't matter. There's a variety of different numbers that can be reading out your line weight thicknesses. Just pick one here in the middle there. That'll be good for our object lines. Now I'm going to grab the constrained dimension tool. These are up here in the basic toolbar in 2012. If you have an older version, you may have to find them in the dimension notes drawer of the tool sets. Either way, they're going to be available to you, and either way, you're going to want to use the keyboard shortcut N and M because they're pretty common tools to use. Go ahead and use N and M to get those quickly. Now, to draw a dimension, you want to move your cursor. It's a 3-step process. You want to find the corner you want to dimension. I'm going to do this dimension, the height of our flat here. So I'm going to put my cursor there. Scooch over here a little bit. Oops, I got to grab the pan tool so you can see what's happening all the way across. Going to go ahead and find that top point. See, there's that top right hint. Click there when you see that and just move your cursor away. It doesn't really matter which direction you move it in. Just move it away from your first click. And then move your cursor down to what sits right here on bottom right, down in that bottom right hand corner. And now it's waiting for you to click again. So click again and then just move your cursor away. There's your dimension line right there waiting for you. Move your cursor away from the object. We're going to do a nested dimension. We want the height of the door too. So let's give ourselves some room. Click right over there. There's 8 feet. Do the exact same thing again. Click on the top right. Click down here on this point for your second click. Now scooch it along away to somewhere right about there. And there's your 7-foot height for that dimension. Do the exact same thing in the other direction, nested dimension for the width of the door, right there. And then we'll do another one here. Click, and then click over here, and then scooch it up, and click a third time when you're happy with where it is. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can see these guys are 2-point lines, nice fine lines on top of our thicker object line. Those look really good. Throw a title block on this, and you're good to go. You've got your first measure drawing, a door flat on here, a scale drawing with some dimension lines, and you've learned a few tools in the process.